So hello from the site from the Institute for Nature of the Republic of Slovenia for Nature Conservation. We will present, me and Jurij will present the work that has been done on the Slovenian site. As you said, unluckily Barbara is sick and also other colleagues are not present right now, but we will try to do our best. So what were the main responsibilities on our part? Of course, the collaboration with partners, all the activities that we did together. We did pilot projects on each site. The expert groundwork was done with the help of external experts, as well as monitoring and service. We did a lot of communicational activities. And then the main focus in the last period was the execution of conservation measures. And on following to all the actions was education and communication with stakeholders. And of course, as in all projects, also administrative work that comes to that. Our project team was not just me, Jurij, and Barbara. We also had help from other colleagues because the institute is employing different experts in the field of biology, forestry, geology, geography, architecture, and so on. On the Slovenian side of the Geopark Karavanke, we have chosen 7 sites. One is Dolga Brda, the second is Šumc, the third and fourth is the headwaters of the Helena stream. It is a bigger area that we divided into 2 sites, 2 parts, and then a site on Zadnji Travnik, below the Olševa mountain, and 2 smaller sites at the Smrekovec mountain range. The biggest site that we have chosen is the Helena stream, actually the headwater of the Helena stream, the spring area. It's a swamp meadow and smaller fragments of bogs. The area is dominated by the vegetation of sedges and a lot of endangered vegetational types in Carinthia, which indicates the habitat type of low marshes fence. Also, other habitat types appear, mainly mesotrophic wet meadows. Several recorded plants are potentially threatened in our country and also in the neighborhood Austrian country. We found few protected orchid species, and on this site we actually focused to do the measures that are oriented to the butterfly species that Julia already mentioned. This is the marsh fritillary, which this location is one of the last swamp populations of this butterfly type in Carinthia. So what were the plant conservation and restoration measures? The area, like I said, we divided it into 2 parts because it had, the lower part had a bit different threats than the upper part, so also the measures would combine with that. In the lower part, we had the problem that some hydrological measures were implemented by the farmers who are renting the land. So at first we planned to remove these water ditches, and also in this part it is in the vicinity of some weekend houses, and a lot of biological material is is put into that area, so also the alien species appear on the surface. In the upper part, there is another threat. It is overgrown by forest species. So our plan was to remove the forest vegetation. Also to communicate with the farmers who rent the parts of this land, how to maintain it in long term. Mostly all the sites that we have chosen are publicly owned, but are rented from private managers. And of course, we did the monitoring of the butterfly mentioned before. The implementation was quite similar to what we planned. We did several field visits with stakeholders, with stakeholders who helped with the implementation of the restoration, like the hunting society and the state owner, which is the Fund for Agriculture, and our external expert in 3 different sites was also the Forestry Institute of Slovenia, who helped with recognizing the parts which were overgrown, and to choose the trees that have to be removed. So we did now in February we removed the forest vegetation in a big area. Almost 3 hectares of area was cleaned from vegetation. We also communicated with the owners of the weekend houses how to act towards these small wetlands, and prepared a long-term mowing plan for the for the farmer who is renting a smaller part of this area. What were the problems and how the further management is planned? As said, is quite a big area which has to be cleaned. So we had a small financial framework, because this vegetation couldn't be removed with the help of volunteers. We had to have a company that can deal with bigger trees. So we also had to prioritize the type of monitoring depending on what measure we were focusing on. So that's why we monitored the butterflies, and also some monitoring was done before. So at the field visits, we were just comparing the state of the vegetation of the dragonflies and amphibians from the previous monitorings. Also, a short period of time for implementation was in this project. So one season we had for monitoring, and then we had to act quickly. So as you know, we had quite a difficult situation with the weather this year due to the floods, and also now a lot of water in these areas. The measures were implemented a bit later than we planned, but we still managed to do it on time. Here are quite difficult terrain conditions. It's high altitude, and the snow was here very quickly. Also, as said, we had to contract an external help company for removing the trees, but for long-term management, we have also communicated with the hunting society, who is willing to work on this area to remove the trees. It is planned, like for the follow-up activities, it's important to do these actions of removing vegetations every few years, and also to mow a part of this wetland area. The presence of marsh fritillary, the butterfly, was determined in 2 periods. First, in beginning of summer, we checked the area for the presence of adult animals, and later in October, we examined the area for possible presence of nests of caterpillars. This protocol of the monitoring was meant to determine the breeding sites of the species and to find out which plants the caterpillars use for nesting. We marked the nesting with wooden sticks, so they were easier to find, and also when we implemented the measure of removing vegetation, the people who were cutting the trees could see the locations of the nests. We found 136 nests, most of them on Devil's Bit Scabious, and a little of them also on Willow gentiana. In the right picture, you can see the orange spots are the nests, and the purple spots are adult animals detected on the field during the monitoring. The second big area, second site, is Dolga Brda. It is a marshy valley with small headwaters, overgrown ponds, and a small transitional box. We found some species of orchids were found there, as the finger orchid, heat-spotted orchid, and the marsh orchid. And the abandoned pond with the area presents a miniature transitional bog with peat mosses, so also the mosses were monitored there. And the area is known for the bog bean and the marsh chink fall. What were the plant conservation and restoration measures were in part of the surrounding of this pond was the removal of forest vegetation, and also some invasive species were detected, and but mostly to improve the water dynamics in the silted pond, which was overgrown and filled with silt. And of course, we did monitoring of habitat types, amphibians, and dragonflies. Before implementing the measures who were planned together with the Forestry Institute, with the owner, and also adjusted with the external expert doing the monitoring. We had to obtain some permits for implementing the measures. Of course, also the field visit with stakeholders mentioned, and the main action was to remove the accumulated silt and aquatic vegetation in part of the pond. Part was left to the succession, to natural succession, but part was emptied. The silt was removed, so we had a bigger open water surface for amphibia, dragonflies, and other species. Also here, this financial framework enabled to do this cleaning, but for the follow-up activities, we will have to find other financial funds to maintain this state of this pond and of the surrounding area. Also, the short period of time didn't allow to do the monitoring after the measures were implemented. So it is important to monitor the state and the species also after the implementation. We have to organize voluntary activities to prevent the entry and spread of invasive species, which are already planned for the spring. The broader area, which was also monitored in the project, does not require a long-term management plan, but it's important not to interfere with stream banks and allow the water to flow freely and naturally. And most important, to communicate with farmers of the surrounding surfaces of arable land, how to manage the wet meadows which are surrounding this wetland area. Species found in the monitoring in Dolga Brda were from amphibians. We can mention the common frog. Then we have other species like the fire salamander, smooth newt, alpine newt, and common toad. We didn't confirm yellow-bellied toad and European tree frog. And on the right map, you can see also the observed breeding sites of the common frog. Monitoring on dragonflies was done. So there were 15 species of dragonflies found here. Cordulegaster heros was confirmed, and other species not confirmed, but probably also present there. We can, in the broader area of Dolga Brda, we can find a combination of habitat types of Atlantic and subatlantic humid meadows and Mid-European lowland hay meadows with meadow foxtail. There are also ash alder woods of slow rivers at the tributary of the Meja River and other communities of sedges. Uh, 296 species of higher plants were found and 11 species of sedges, as mentioned. Bog bean, rarewood, horsetail, purple marsh lox, Styrian longwort, and other rare species. We monitored in this location and also in the location of Zadnji Travnik, we monitored also mosses. So here, 74 species of mosses were recorded in the entire area, mostly also peat mosses, 2 of them also on the red list, Slovenian red list. Then now I give the word to Jurij, who will present the other
hello.
localities.
I will present the smaller project sites that we worked on for the last year. The first one that we would like to introduce is the Zadnji Travnik. This is a typical high bog. It's the only high bog in the Carinthia area and in the area of the geopark. We decided to include this area in the project because this area has a really rich botanic spread of species that we can find here. The area, as we can see, is divided into 2 main regions. There is the central region with the pine, mountain pine, and the peat mosses, and the surrounding area where the typical wetlands plants live. On this lower picture, we can see that the problem of grazing was already noticed in the area, and some measures were already acquired, but we know that we had to put some more emphasis on this problematic. And because of the previous data that we had on this area, we also know that we had to focus on the moss, on the vegetation studies, especially on the moss monitoring study. We also predict that the mountain pine is already overgrowing, so we predicted some measures of cutting the and removing of the forest vegetation. As in all previous sites, we had the first steps were to maintain the permits that are required, and we really take care that we made field trips with the shareholders. In this case, we made a visit with a landowner and the president of the pasture community, who represents the pasture community of Črna na Koroškem. We waited for the monitoring results from the experts of botany, so they already noticed that the fence is still too close to the bog. So they suggested that we relocate the fence. So for that measure, we bought some new wooden sticks. So the fence will be removed in the follow-up spring. As we already talked, the grazing is one of the main problems in the area. There is some problems with the overgrowth of the mountain pine, but it's still not a priority in this particular area. And we have to communicate with the grazing community that mowing every couple of years in the area where the grazing will be removed will take place. And if we go to the results of that, we already know that the moss variety here is very rich, but when the results came back, we were really pleased because the botanics here found 59 species of mosses, 25 species of liverwort, and 38 species of Brabsida, and also 175 higher plants were inventoried in this area. For the next sites, we took 2 sites on the Smrkovec mountain. These are really the smallest sites of the whole project, but we decided that we will include it because the educational value of these sites is really important, because the area here is really popular for hiking and hiking trips. And as you can see, the red line, this is a border between Carinthia and Steyr. It's the border between Geopark. It's the border between our regional units. So here, including this area, we hit a broader and wider range of shareholders. For these 2 small ponds, as you can see, we planted that we would like to remove the trees and the shrubs, and that we wanted to deepen the water level of the ponds. But as I mentioned before, because this area is very popular, a lot of people, we wanted to inform and indulge the importance of wetlands in this area. As the implementation as before the administrative procedure, and then we organized a field trip with the owner and the shareholder, and he was really reserved because this area is part of one of the largest private landowners in the area, and they really are focused on the forestry management, and this was really something that was really hard to get in touch, and that he took time for us. And still now he's not really enthusiastic about any measures in the nature, but he is not against them. So it's we can say it's some neutral position, and further communication will be needed. But as we say that this region is really really popular, we can combine this our project iSwamp with another project that is also in this area of Alps is going on. It's a project Zagon. They also restore some alpine ponds, and so we held two different workshops with them, and we introduced our measures and our activities, and we learned their activities and their problems. We also combined together with the Geopark Karavanke seminar for shareholders at Smrkovec. The target group were mountain managers and mountain clubs. So we made a combined visit to the area, and there we talked about the importance of wetlands in the area. The main problem here is that the long-term management plan is really hard to establish because the owner is not interested. The area here is the highest from all the pilot areas that we worked on, and we'll have typical alpine problems with the climate change because the level is already decreasing, and it's in the summer the ponds are dry. Here was that we planned an activity with the students who wanted to visit the Geopark Karavanke in August, but the event was cancelled due to the heavy floods. Let's go to the last site. The last site that we decided to include in our project is the swamp Shumts. This is a really small swamp in the pre-Alp area. This kind of swamps were usually really common in the Carinthia rural area, but due to the changes in the farming in the last decades, they are really disappearing. The same problem goes in this area. Yet it's still the small area that is still preserved, but it's still very important for some hygrophile species of butterflies and dragonflies, and also some rare and vulnerable plants are found here. In this area, as you can see, that the surrounding is very intense farmed, and here with where the trees and the shrubs are growing. So we wanted to remove these shrubs from this area, and our main goal was that to get the conversation started with the landowner, because this is the only area that is privately owned. The implementation was that we make several field visits to this area. We established the contact with the landowner, that is an older farmer, and every time that we came to this area, we made some we
have some trouble hearing you, Jurij.
We talked and we tried to communicate. The farmer is a lot of work in the forest because there was a excuse me. Hello.
Yes, we had some trouble hearing you in the last slide.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, now yes.
Okay. So the problems that we have here is that the farmer is old, and he is not really interested in the removal just yet, because he had a really strong windstorm in the forest, and he wants to retain the harvest for future years. One of the main problems also here is the fertilization and mowing in the surrounding area. But the owner is interested, and in the future we will help him with when he decides that to remove the overgrowth. And as for the last, we would like to show some photos of these. You can see we hit all the age groups, from the kids from kindergarten to the high school and elderly. We had some students that were helping on the project and worked with us, and we also organized the seminar for teachers and educational workers. And also we had a lot of internal education among our colleagues. In our regional unit and national, and we represented and I would like to say thank you for your attention.